everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing sort of like an informal garden tour. We're just gonna like walk around the garden and see what's going on. It's still a little bit early for a full-on garden tour because there are still a lot of empty spaces out there, but there are definitely still some things going on that I wanted to share. So I'm gonna show you what's coming up right now because I've sown a lot of things out there and some things have started getting transplanted too. I'm also going to be doing a little seedling update as well. You can see a lot of my seedlings are behind me here in the greenhouse. I'm gonna cover those at the end. So for now we're gonna go walk around the garden and see what we have there, and then I'll go over all of my seedlings and give you a little update at the end. Here's a little look at the garden right now. We've got some plants in a few of these beds. In this bed I just have some tulips that actually overwintered from the year before. I was growing them as cut flowers, but I couldn't get some of the bulbs out, so they kind of just grew there. And we'll just see if they flower. They haven't flowered yet. Here in this bed, this is going to be my like greens and lettuce bed for the spring. I haven't put too much in here yet. I am waiting for my seedlings to get a little larger, but I did direct sow some arugula in here, and I see just a few tiny little sprouts coming up right now. Not too many yet, but they're just starting. I think I just did those like last week. In the next bed, we have our garlic, which is doing so well. We planted these in the fall, I think around October, and in the last month, they've really started growing a lot. So since they're like kind of coming back alive for the spring and starting to grow a lot, I've been making sure to fertilize them so that they get lots of nutrients because garlic is a pretty heavy feeder. I also top dressed with some manure as well, just to give them a little boost for the spring. To the side here, the peas that I direct sowed in a video have come up and you can see them all up now. They're gonna grow so quickly now that they're up, and our weather has been looking really nice. We're getting chilly nights, but a lot of warm days, and I think the peas are just really loving it. Soon they're going to be climbing this trellis, and this variety of pea is a snow pea. We can take a little look here in my winter sowing jugs. This is my milkweed jug. You can see just one tiny little sprout here, and then this is my jug with the artichokes, and you can see 3 plants in there, starting to get some true leaves. And I'm really glad I winter sowed some artichokes because the artichokes that I grew last year, even though they grew so well throughout the season, it looks like they didn't overwinter. So I'll show you that later. It's kind of sad, but at least I have some replacements in here. In this bed, this was where I tried to grow Brussels sprouts again, and I also had a ton of cilantro. The Brussels sprouts didn't work out, and I just harvested the last of the cilantro because it was starting to bolt since it was there all winter. And in this bed, we have actually gone in and planted our potatoes already. We have one variety in this bed, and then we'll have another one in another bed. Here is one of our blueberry plants, starting to form some buds. In the next bed, this is where I've transplanted some of my leeks. And you can see that the holes that I made, if you saw the last video, they started to fill in already because we've had a few rains, and the leeks have already grown. I know they still look really small, but they definitely have a lot more green sticking out of the soil than they did before. So they're looking really good, adapting very well. And here's a quick look at the other side where I have more leeks. This is just another variety. Backtracking a little bit here to this other bed, I'm kind of just like hopping around, not really going in order, because I just want to show the beds that actually have stuff in them. This is another bed where I have more garlic. I believe this one is a soft neck garlic and the other one was a hard neck. These ones are a little bit smaller and later to mature, but they're also looking great. I also filled in some of the other side of the bed with my shallot seedlings, and I didn't have too many of those, so I just filled in the very edge of the bed over here, and then I still have room in the middle of the bed in between the garlic and the shallots, and I think I'm gonna put some edamame in there maybe. I think that's gonna be a good spot for them. In this bed where we have an arch trellis on one side of it where we're going to be growing climbing plants here, I also did a couple of rows of some root vegetables that will be a little quicker growing. So here I've actually done a row of radishes, and those are starting to pop up now. And I think in the row behind I did some dill. So that hasn't come up yet, but it's nice to see the radishes here. I think I also did the same thing on the opposite bed. Yep, I can see more radishes coming up here. I did 2 lines of those. On this side of the garden in the back, there's not too much going on yet. We did plant another area of potatoes right here, but you obviously can't see them since they're under the ground. And here, this is a spot where I had an artichoke plant last year, and it just does not look like it's going to be coming back this year. I'm not really sure why. I think they are supposed to be perennial in our zone. It just looks very dead and rotted. Maybe it was too wet or something. And here on the other side, this was the other one I had that was so massive, and it's just, the stem is completely rotten. So that's kind of disappointing. But luckily I have some more seedlings started, so we'll try again this year. But I was so excited to have them, so that's a little sad. But on a brighter note, in another bed, I have another perennial that I started from seed last year, and this is rhubarb, and it looks like it has made it through the winter and has started to grow for the spring. I started this from seed last spring, so this is going into its 2nd year now, and I've never grown rhubarb before, and I've actually never eaten it either, so I'm pretty excited to try it out. If it grows large enough that I can actually harvest from it this year, I'm not sure if it will, but it's still early in the spring now, so we'll see how it does. This one's looking really good, and then I actually have another one that's a little bit smaller but has also survived, so I'm really happy to see that those have made it through the winter. In our asparagus row, I've been trying to weed because we have so many of these spring violets in this area. They are so terrible. They're really pretty, but they're just such a terrible weed here. And I've been trying to clear out this area because soon our asparagus is going to be coming up, and I actually did see yesterday when I was weeding the tip of an asparagus coming up. This is a green asparagus. It does look kind of purple now, but it will be a green variety, so soon we're gonna have asparagus, which is so fun. I'm just really gonna have to dig around through these violets to be able to get to them. Hopefully they can poke their way through. Like, these violets are absolute madness. Just look at all of these tiny little seedlings that come from these flowers. Like, how am I supposed to get rid of this? Literally billions. Ugh. Alright, so let's move on to the next row. I had direct sown some green onions in here. I haven't really seen any action on those seeds that I direct sowed, but to be very honest, this also could be because I had let the chickens out to free range, and some of our chickens got into this bed and decided to dust bathe all in it. It was like a beautiful hot day and they were having such a good time, and I just didn't have it in me to kick them out of the bed. They were just like having such a grand old time. So I kind of let them dust bathe in this area where I had sown all of those onion seedlings. So if nothing comes up, well, at least the chickens had a good time. Then in the back part of this bed, I've actually transplanted all of my onion seedlings, which I'm so happy about. Transplanting onions take a little bit of time, and I think I ended up planting maybe 250 seedlings. These are all of the seedlings that I grew from seed. I have 4 different varieties. One of them I only have like 10 seedlings because I didn't get good germination, but the other 3 varieties I probably have between like 70 to 90 of each. And they just look so good this year. I'm really hoping that we don't get like a hard freeze, because last year the tops of my onions did get killed off by a particularly hard late freeze that we had. They should be fine if it's just a light freeze, but they're looking so good, so healthy, and it makes me so proud that I grew these all from seed. Just this like little field of tiny little onion seedlings. So fun. We're right by one of our peach trees that is in full bloom right now and is so glorious. Let me go over and get a good shot and see some of the honeybees that are flying around. And then in this last bed, I have been working on putting down some wheat fabric because we have some really bad quackgrass in this area, and even if I weeded full time, like there's no way I would be able to stay on top of that. So here is the pathway, and then this is the actual bed. We have to go in and burn some holes into the wheat fabric because this is a woven plastic wheat fabric, and I'm hoping that will help to keep the weeds in check. And we're gonna do a row of 2 holes side by side all the way down 18 inches apart, and this row is going to be for some of like the larger things that need that larger spacing. So I think in the spring I'm probably going to put my broccoli and cabbages in here, and then in the summer I can probably put like zucchini or watermelon if I just space my plants out like every other hole so that they're like 2 to 3 feet apart. So that's the plan here, a little bit of a work in progress, but hopefully that will be planted up soon. So that's kind of what's going around the garden right now, a few things popping up here and there for the spring. Now I'm going to go inside and show you my tray of peppers in there, and then we're going to come back out to the greenhouse and I'm going to show you the other seedlings, and I have some tomato seedling separating to do as well today. So here is a look at my tray of peppers. They have made very nice progress since I've last shown them to you. I think last time they were like just barely germinating, and now they're getting some nice leaves on them. I actually have to come in here and thin out these plants soon to just 1 plant per pot, because some of these I have multiple. Some of these have been really slow. This variety, Ruby King, which is like a bell pepper, I only have 1 that's just starting to come up, and the other one's no action yet. I think this is because these seeds are pretty old. They're some of my oldest seeds. I think they're like maybe 4 years old at this point. So I think I have to get rid of this packet and get fresh seeds from next year because they're just taking a long time. But some of these other ones are looking very nice and healthy. And yeah, I just have to come in and thin those out. Then I have another tray here where I've just gone in the other day and separated out some of my basil seedlings. I have some Italian basil here. I think this is Thai basil, and the really teeny itty bitty ones in the back are my holy basil. So I just have that 1 shelf on in here right now, and then I usually have my tomato seedlings up here, but I brought them outside to separate, so I'll go show you those now. All right, so we're in the greenhouse now. This is the tray that I just mentioned, usually goes on that other shelf because these are my tomatoes, and I just brought them out here today so that I could finish separating them out. I've already started the process, so these seedlings here are my Roma tomatoes that I separated out. They were all in 1 pot before, and then I separated them, so now I have 10 different seedlings in 10 pots. And then here are some of the ones that I haven't done yet, so you can see I just have multiple tomato seedlings in there. So I just have to go in and put them each in their own pots. But they're growing so quickly. I always forget how quickly tomato seedlings grow, compared to pepper seedlings especially. So these are going to catch up and get really big in no time. That's usually why I wait to sow my tomato seedlings a couple weeks after peppers, just because they grow so quickly and they germinate really fast as well. These are the leftover basils I had after I separated out my seedlings. I kept 12 of each and I just have lots of little seedlings left, so I'm leaving them in here for now, but I'm not sure if I will actually need them in the end. I also have some tomatillos here. My ground cherries have not come up. And then in the back here, these are some of the herbs that I started. This is the sweet marjoram and the summer savory. That's looking really good. And then I have some more tomatoes that I already separated out here into their own pots. And then here are my eggplants. They're finally getting their first set of true leaves. So I have a few trays here, and this first tray is the only one that's actually been living inside. I have 3 other trays here, and actually I have one on the other side I'll get to later. But all of those have been staying outside in the greenhouse. This is an unheated greenhouse, so it does get cold at night. You know, if there are freezing temperatures outside, it will pretty much freeze in here as well. The greenhouse helps to keep some of the frost off, but I definitely wouldn't want to risk it with any of my very tender seedlings, so that's why the tomato plants are still inside for now. But all the cold hardy stuff can stay out here because they can take the cold weather. So in this tray I have my cabbage and broccoli seedlings. These are going to get transplanted very soon, and they're getting to be a very nice transplanting size. They have a few sets of true leaves. I also have my lemongrass here. This one I do need to bring in if it gets too cold, but I just didn't have any space on any other trays, so I keep it out here. And also my thyme is looking so good. We actually went to Lowe's today and I looked at some of their herb seedlings, and I could not believe they were selling a plant start this size for almost $6. It was actually a little smaller than mine. I think mine looks a little bigger and healthier than theirs, and I just can't believe how expensive seedlings are. So seed starting is definitely the way to go. If we had to purchase every single plant we grew as seedlings from the store, like, it just would not be worth it money-wise. So I'm really happy that we have the setup to start seeds. I know not everybody can, but if you can, it can save you so much money, and yeah, it's really not that hard to grow a nice healthy plant start from just a few seeds. And like, I don't even want to think about how much this tray of seedlings would cost if we bought them from a big box store. It's just insane to me. Anyway, moving on, I have another tray here. This is some more greens. I did start these in a video. I have bok choy, spinach, some kale over here, some lettuces. The lettuces are looking so good. I only have this one row here that is just being a little bit slow to germinate, but these two guys are looking so beautiful, especially next to each other. This like bright yellow green color next to the darker reds, so beautiful. And then I have my two kinds of beets here. I have red beets and then some golden beets. The spinach I'm waiting to get just a little bit bigger, and then those are going to be transplanted soon in our green stock. I think that's going to be a nice way to grow the lettuce. Maybe in the next week or so, that's going to happen. This is a tray of all flowers, and I did specifically cold hardy flowers in this tray. This whole area is calendula. It's the calendula that I grow for making salve. Then I have Dara here, some sweet alyssum, Gaillardia, which is a perennial, and I want to grow more of that for some landscaping plants, because they're really pretty for landscaping and very low maintenance. Then I have some straw flowers and snapdragons here. Those tiny little sprouts are coming up. I also have some chamomile and parsley. From what I've read, I think chamomile is like a little bit cold hardy. I'm not exactly sure, but I just put it in here because for flowers, I will be like a little bit less upset if my seedlings die. For vegetables, since this is our food, I am a little bit more protective of them. But for these ones, especially since I know most of them are cold hardy, I just leave them out here even if it's going to get to like 34 degrees and there's a chance of a freeze. I just take that chance because I don't want to be moving 1,000 trays in and out of the house every day. If you've been around in the past years, you know that we started a cut flower garden, and I actually don't think I'm going to be doing that this year. It's just a lot of extra work that I don't really need to put on myself. I am still going to be growing flowers in that garden, just maybe not cut flowers. I think my plan is to do a lot of those beds, just fill it up with some calendula, because I go through a lot of calendula making salve that we sell at our Etsy store, and I just find myself needing more and more of it every year because you guys are just like buying us out, which is amazing. I'm so thankful for that. Honestly, I don't know how many people that buy our calendula salve found us off of YouTube, but for those of you who do follow us and have purchased from our store, thank you so much. But honestly, that stuff has just been hard to keep in stock. So I want to grow an entire garden of like just our calendula so that I can grow a lot of it in the summer, pick all of it, dry it, and then I can infuse it in oil and use it for our salve. So that's why I have so many seedlings of just calendula, and I might need more than this too. This is 36 seedlings. And then we'll see if I can get some more seeds or something to grow more of those. On the other side, I have some things that I just started. In these trays here, I just filled the entire tray with soil, and there are no cells or anything, but I have put in some perennial bulbs and things. So here I have some begonias and elephant ears. That's just for like, you know, making it pretty around our property. And then on this side, I have some astilbe roots that we just bought. So I'm just giving them a little bit of a start in the greenhouse by rooting them in some soil. And then in this tray, I've started a lot of our warm weather flowers. I have zinnias, marigolds. I did a lot of coleus because that's a nice plant that's good for shady areas, and the front of our house has like a shady area that I'd like to fill up, and coleus is a great one because you can grow it from seed, it does well in the shade, and the leaves are very colorful as well. So that's a nice one. And I also have some gomphrena, asters, and bee balm. Since we're not going to be doing the cut flower garden this year, I'm going to try and scatter lots of pretty flowers all around our vegetable garden, and I'm trying to remind myself to leave space for it. I always want to fill everything up with as many vegetables as possible, but I'm trying to leave space for those flowers since we're not going to have the flower garden. And those flowers are not cold hardy. They're in the greenhouse right now because they haven't germinated yet, so there's no risk of them dying. But once they come up, I'll kind of have to keep an eye on it and move them inside for the night if it is going to freeze. But anyway, I think those are all the seedlings we have right now. This greenhouse is definitely starting to fill up, which is such a nice sight. And I'm trying to keep things moving along, bring things out to the greenhouse, and then transplant the plants to the garden so that we can fill it up out in the garden as well. So I think that's going to be it for this video, just a little informal garden and seedling update, but it is going to be time very soon for the first garden tour of the year, and I think that's going to be probably in a couple of weeks I'll do that. I think by then the garden will fill out a little bit more and we'll have more things in there to show. So if you want to see that and all of our garden updates throughout this year, make sure you are subscribed to our channel and turn on that notification bell so that you know when we post new videos. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time.